Okay, we're live. I think.
Anand will start. Dr. Aruna will take another 10 minutes. She'll join whenever.
You can we are live now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we celebrate International Women's Day across the world. And with us today, we have two really amazing women with us. First is Anika Parashar. She is the founder and CEO for the Women's Company. And I will let it up to her how she wants to explain the Women's Company to us, what do they do. And then we have Saloni Bhardwaj, who is the CTO. Not Chief Technology Officer, but Chief Transformational Officer at Lotus Petal Foundation. And she's also the co-founder. So first, I would like to start with Anika. Anika, could you just give us a little brief about you, your work, your family?
Okay. I founded the Women's Company 2 years ago today. And we're a company that actually makes made in India products for menstrual hygiene and feminine, intimate feminine hygiene products for women. Like pads, we do 3 types of pads. In fact, we've curated a teen pad for girls because the whole inspiration was that my daughter was hitting puberty, and I wanted her to start her journey positively rather than kind of have that premise in her mind that, oh my God, now I've started my period, I'm screwed for the next 35 years. I wanted it to be more on the lines of, this is natural, this is normal, and I have, great products and information, etc., that could support me through this phase. So we started a teen pad, which was, just slightly smaller, easy for a young girl to wear. We've got day pads and night pads, we've got menstrual cups, panty liners, tampons, urination devices, bamboo razors. The idea was that all of our products are organic, are biodegradable. We also have a hot pack, which is made of organic wheat, to be able to ease off period cramps. We've got a compassionate pad, which we created for women who were going through a miscarriage. Also, the box leads you to a chat bot. The chat bot leads you to information and resources to support a woman through, somebody who's going through all of that. And we also have an engagement platform for women, either via the bot or through our Instagram pages or through the way that we engage with communities. The idea was that we don't want to just be an FMCG company. We want to be an impact company for women. And I've been working over the last 2.5 decades in building women's brands and primarily in healthcare. So, this kind of married the two together. And so it made sense for me. In terms of my background, I've grown up all over the world. So I'm kind of like a mixed breed. I did my primary school in Hong Kong. I did my high school in Canada. I did my university in London. I fell in love with a guy there, got married. We had a son. And that's when I went into a journey of, becoming a birth educator when my son was born. So I started studying birth education, prenatal, postnatal massage therapy, fertility therapy, lactation counseling, water birth, hypnobirth, you name it, over the next 10 years, kind of did it. With that, alongside, in 2006, my dad died very suddenly, and then we had to move back to India from London because my mom was also in heart failure. And when I came back, then my partner and me took a business plan. We kind of circulated amongst a whole bunch of people, and we were picked up by Mahindra & Mahindra. We were funded there. We started a set of centers for expecting and new mothers, which did very well, but they weren't tied to a healthcare setup. And women in that intimate phase do need the privacy of a healthcare setup to be able to breastfeed or to be able to have their babies, etc. Nobody wanted to come to a retail setup, even though it was segmented and separated. Yeah. They wanted that they didn't want that connection there, I think. So we then from Mahindra moved on to Fortis, and over there the concept was called Mamma Mia. So opened up a chain of Mamma Mia centers. They did very well. We were, touching, thousands of women across the country per week in terms of breastfeeding support or obstetric physiotherapy, legal support, etc. And then, in 2012, my mom was given 18 months to live. And that's when she needed a heart transplant. So kind of shifted half the time to Chennai, where we were waiting for an organ donor, because that was the only organized donor network in the country. And at that time, I realized that, we needed more support. And so I started Organ India. And it's about 9 years old now. And we work very closely with the health ministry. We set agendas for organ donation and transplant. We do a lot of awareness programs. We have a transplant guide which connects recipients, donors, families. And just recently, we've also been selected to take the India delegation of athletes to the World Transplant Games in Australia. So
Wow.
we've really kind of come far from that. But I came back from Chennai. Mom had a successful transplant. And I found myself a single mom now because my husband had sort of moved on. And that's when I took a job as the chief operating officer of Fortis La Femme, and was one hospital. And, in my 2.5 years there, we made it into 4 hospitals. We grew, we did quite well. We were supporting women, not just in obstetrics, but also in gynecology, which made me quite proud. And then 2.5 years in 2018, my mom died. And that's when I needed to take a break because I was struggling with a whole bunch of personal issues. And post, sort of a year off, I was trying to decide what to do. And that's when, it brought me kind of to this journey of opening the women's company. And now we've been around about 2 years. And yes, we've grown month on month. We sell on our own website. We're on marketplaces, and we've opened an office in New York, and we've just started selling in the US as well. So hopefully onwards and upwards. Yeah. So I have 2 children. I have a 16-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. And I have 2 fur babies who are equally important. And so that's me.
Wow. That's quite a journey, Anika. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that I want to ask you related to that. But before I actually start, asking you about the challenges and, the general cliched things that you have heard and you fought through, I would like, Saloni, if you can share your journey as well.
Well, currently I'm serving the children of Lotus Petal Foundation and trying to make the circle of giving bigger, as all of you know of that. Small town girl, grew up with the aspirations of traveling the world and, never wanting to work in a structured way. So just freelanced, worked as a writer, worked as a journalist, a radio, television, and then realized that my face and body was made only for print. So decided to huddle behind desks and primarily focus on as a freelance writer. Lived in multiple countries, and wherever I lived, I realized that my heart was always closest and most relaxed when I was working with people and solving their problems. And, when you live in the West, it gives you a great opportunity to work in a very organized, structured way with nonprofits. And while living in England, while doing my master's and working with some fantastic organizations like the BBC or the 10,000 Villages or United Way, it gave me a full-blown exposure of how one can touch the community through your little bit skills and little bit of compassion. And I think that was where my search began. Moved back to India in 2004, worked again as a regular television journalist, only to realize how much I did not like doing what I was doing. Lived in the United States for a while, and that's when I decided that I should just focus on what my heart, where my heart takes me. And in that journey, I think my focus was on volunteering. I just gave full time and energy for 2 years. I took time off and gave myself completely to different nonprofits, learning how people were responding to the nonprofit world. What was it that people were seeking, people like you and me, what kind of nonprofits they wanted to work with, what were the causes that were driving them, what they did not like about the bigger nonprofits. And I, with the aspiration of one day moving back to India and starting my own nonprofit. And how it is when you're living in the West, you feel everything, you will go back to India, you'll be able to do it so much better because you know it so well, only to realize when you come here that it's so much more overwhelming. Had two beautiful children while living and working with nonprofits. Anika, I'm also a hypno mom, so it's been a beautiful journey of it was a beautiful journey of discovering myself as a woman. Really, each time you would find yourself hit by an obstacle. I think if you go inward as a woman, your body only inspires you and surprises you how you can overcome every challenge. Moved back to India in 2012 with two small children and wanting to start my own charity. The search took me closer and closer to two nonprofits, one in my hometown, Lucknow, and one small little charity in Gurgaon called Lotus Petal Charitable Foundation, which was run by my friend. But I lived in Delhi and I did not know where Gurgaon was, and my children were too small. But like I said, when you're a woman determined to do something, it just all happens. Found my way into Lotus Petal Foundation since 2013. I had a lot of ideas. Most of them were very white, as they were called at that time. But I kept working my way through them. And Kushal was extremely open and very, very busy because he was working in a very demanding job at that time. So I got some space to experiment my ideas in trying to make a charity where people from anywhere in the world could come, make a donation, volunteer, send their children, get a receipt, know where their money was going, the overheads are low, it's a clean and a safe place. So, these little small things, which were my learning over a decade of working with nonprofits overseas, found a place at Lotus Petal. And since 2013, I just feel every day has been a, journey of learning and overcoming and meeting lovely, nice people. So as I said in the beginning, the circle of giving is just expanding and we're having a lot of fun. And this is it. I don't want to bore you too much with my story. Over to Shruti and you guys.
You both have such interesting stories. I'm sure we can go on and on, but yes, we have to, look at the time as well. But one of the things that I feel like from both of your stories and, the life journey is that, is it always necessary for us to have a trigger to achieve something? Because a lot of people think that women will get out of their comfort zone only when there's a trigger. So if you both can shed some light on that, because I know a lot of people think like that.
I'll let the guest go first.
Sure. Today, even you're the guest. Okay, Anika.
I think a trigger could be, there's always a trigger, Shruti, because it's either internal or external. It's either you need money or you need, to get out of the house because you need some kind of stimulation, you need purpose. Or it's internal, which is something that you want. So you want to, to achieve something for yourself. You want to, be someone, or you want to, you want to kind of create something. You want to nurture something. Or even from the point of view that something in your life has happened to impact you in such a way that your response is to go out and and work or create or build. So there's always a trigger. It could be something very nondescript and subtle, but it could also be dramatic. So it's different for everybody, men and women. I think there's always a trigger.
I think triggers are manifested by us with what is going on in our head or in our heart or in our calling. Like as three of us over here, we come from a privileged situation where we, if from the outside world, everything is so perfect, everything, so to say, comes to us. Having said that, in this perfection also, there is something where, your calling, your search, you're not surrendering to mediocrity or that average life or the low expectations that your environment has for you. I think that something has been my trigger. It's not that I'm questioning the status quo. It's just that making a better version of yourself, knowing that you're worth and capable more. Why are you not being looked at as an equal, platform? Yes. Why is everything around you so hypocritical? And why, and I'm not saying that I was a rebel or I was questioning all the time. In fact, I was none of these. Having said that the triggers were silent, but I wanted to break out of those situations. And to break out, you really have to organize yourself. You need money and you need to have the guts. So, these situations would require external stimuli or a trigger. Ki bhai, ab ye situation change ho gayi life ke, so you have to earn or you have to move or you have to do things. So basically those internal situations, which, the angst inside you manifest as triggers outside. If it's not bothering you, you stay in that relationship, you stay in that situation, you stay in that house, you stay in that job. You'll be like, yeah, it's toxic. That relationship is toxic, but you're like not bothered. But if that self-worth, or you're looking at your self-esteem from a different set of eyes, if that is imploding, I think it manifests as an external trigger. I think I am a trigger.
I mean, each one of us are in weird ways.
Yeah, in our own way.
Anika, you were saying something?
No, I said that I think each of us are triggers in our own ways,
Yeah. So why do most of the women don't like being called superwomen? It's like we get out of the house, we look after the house, we look after the children, we look after their education, we're looking after ourselves, we're looking after our work. We are doing everything a man can do. He's not called a superman. We are called superwoman all the time. Why?
Achha, first I'll go. So first of all, this is not a conversation where I'm competing with men or being superior to men or saying competing anything with men. All of us need men, whether it's husband, fathers, partners, sons, neighbors, or whatever. So, they're all good. So we will honor the space as we smart women should. I find this superwoman and all of these things very bizarre because, first of all, superheroes are not real, period. They are made. They are animated, they are caricatured, they are make-believe, they are fiction. But we are real, right? And superheroes are like 60 years, 80 years old since marketing and animation and graphics came. But just look at our grandmoms. Look at Rani Lakshmi Bai. Look at Mother Teresa. Look at all these women. Look at our grandmoms. Look at the neighbors, those, older women in the community who had no money, who did not have someone to give them a card on Valentine's Day. They did not have a community to support, but they are still those women who have held the community through down times, through wars, through, famine, through times when people didn't have job. So, we are real. We are real. We are next door and we are everyday people. You and me, I mean, we, go for our groceries, pay our bills, everything. So we are regular, real people. So we are not superheroes or super women or anything super. So, but in this everyday thing, in this next door thing is the uniqueness of the gender, in the balancing everything. But then look at our moms and grandmoms. They didn't have any medal.
Yeah.
So I somewhere feel like I'm not doing much. I still do too much of drama and, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I can't take it all. But just look at those women.
True.
So this is something, I just feel like this is too marketing.
Anika, you want to add anything?
I think for me, superwoman is a very pressurizing term. I have a huge problem with it because, I've been called superwoman, I've been called Iron Woman, I've been called a whole bunch of things. There are very few people who, at my age had lost both parents. I mean, under 40, you've lost both your parents, you've lost your husband. My brother had a whole host of problems. And, I was, progressing work-wise in whatever manner I was. So the point is that, there was that tag that people would, and they thought it was complimentary. But every time I heard that, I felt I didn't have the ability to feel, to be vulnerable, to collapse, to cry, to vent, to fall apart. It took away that right, from me, because I started performing for that label. I started, I started becoming that label or trying to become that label. And in that, what was happening inside me was I was crumbling, So a few months after she died and, my brother was in a rehabilitation center and I was all over the place in my head. I started having terrible anxiety. I started having panic attacks, and that didn't go with my label. And so there was this battle inside me, but I'm supposed to be superwoman. But who said that? Who said that? Who did that to me? So I'm just a woman, and I'm fine with that. And, there's nothing special about me. I'm just living life the way I can best. I've had certain things that have happened to me. I've coped with them to the best of my ability. They're not to be compared with anyone else, man or woman. It's just me. So I have very, very voraciously removed that tag from anyone who wants to use it for me, because I feel if I feel this way, so many other women must be feeling this way. So I just refuse to do that. I refuse to do that to a woman. No superheroes, no. And yeah, I agree with you, Saloni, they're fictional characters. But don't put that pressure on us. Just don't.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask that because, there are a lot of the schoolgirls who've joined the talk today. They're like either on Facebook or YouTube at the moment. And I'm pretty sure when they're hearing this, they're also realizing that, you don't have to take all the pressure of the society or, everybody else puts you through. You have to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
All those things that come attached with the tags. At the end of the day, it is you, your ability, and how you fight out your circumstances to reach where you are. Because I feel like, listening to both of you, if you've decided that this is how I want my life to be, nobody can actually stop you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, Saloni, who were your biggest supporters in your journey?
Not too many.
I'll
be honest, not too many, but the ones who are, they're pretty solid. And I think it's very important for women to have women friends and women friends who tell you that maybe what you're doing is okay, maybe it's not okay, but I've got your back. I think that is very, very important, that we should, it's just how it is that, especially, in our culture, we don't have women friends. We either have family friends, their children, or husbands, or, something which is like an offshoot of a relationship. But it's very important for women to have their own soul group or their own little, and, mine can be on my fingertips, like 5 and 6, even not more than that. But they're solid. They're solid. And it's not that they've known me from like 45 years, but whatever they've known me, it's been honest. And I think you should have people who can tell you the truth, and you should have the courage to hear that. Because, most of the times, as you're ascending the charts, you stop listening to people who are close to you, and you only listen to those parts of other people that suit you, which are more comfortable. Because everything is anyway so uncomfortable around you, and you're struggling every day for something that it's always better to hear people when it is just nice and lovely. But I think it's very important to have very good friends, very, very good, solid women friends and male friends, all kind of friends who have your back and who give you an honest advice. And then you should have the courage to follow that.
True. So, Anika, what were some of the stigmas that you had to fight? Because I'm asking that because, again, as I said, there are a lot of schoolgirls who joined the call, and I'm pretty sure they would also want to know, how did you reach where? What did you have to fight? Because everybody has a father who doesn't want the girl to go to college maybe after class 12, or, it's just various issues that all the girls face all the time. So what were the most, like, some of the things that you faced, and how did you deal with them?
So luckily I didn't have that at home. I was, till I did have my family around, my grandparents, my parents were all very supportive. As a family, they were very supportive. And I think they were very progressive thinking, which perhaps helped me. And, the universe does supply. I mean, if I was to lose my family so young, maybe I got the family that I did to allow me to equip myself with what I needed to be able to survive when they all left. But, along the way, I think one of the things is that we get in some way or form, being girls, being women, is somebody saying you can't do it. So you can't go out at night alone because you're a girl. You can't wear this because you're a girl. You can't study this because you're a girl. You can't apply for this job because you're a girl. You won't be able to get through with this business plan because, the idea is too big, you're too small, it's too early, it's too nascent.
Yeah.
There are lots of naysayers along the way. Being a girl, being a woman, there are lots of naysayers along the way. And I think that there are two things that I've learned across my journey about this. One is that for every naysayer, there is also an evangelist, okay? Someone who pushes you, someone who opens doors for you, some force that makes it happen, okay? So while we can get bitter and we can get, we can be on a track of, women have it really hard. Yes, we do have it a little harder. We do. But let's not also, let's also acknowledge rather the fact that there are people out there who do open doors for us. There are people out there who do encourage us, who do, pave pathways for us. So that is one thing I've learned. The other thing that I've learned is that you have to cut out the clutter. So I've started cutting out the clutter with everybody and everything in my life that doesn't resonate with me. Could be friends, family, workplace related stuff. If I don't want it in my space, if I don't want to believe it, I will shut it out. It doesn't exist for me. There are blinders on completely. Because if I have to be true to myself and hear myself, then I can't be hearing somebody else, right? Because I know what's possible and I know what's impossible, and that's all within me. There's nothing external that defines that. So I think that's the second thing. So one is there's always someone there helping you, even though there are people who are telling you that it can't be done. And the second is, if you're really going to be true to yourself and you're really going to kind of be your best cheerleader, then you have to shut out the noise.
Yeah.
True.
So you not really have too many people, but the ones you have, just keep them close and clean the clutter out occasionally. You don't have to be the popular one and the famous one. It's okay to be not the popular one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I see Dr. Aruna has just joined us. I think, Dr. Aruna, can we have your video on?
Oh, poor thing.
Sorry. Dr. Aruna is the director of Obs and Gynaec at CK Birla. And of course, when you're dealing with women, there are babies born at all the time. So she got stuck and she has just joined.
I don't know whether you're able to see me or not. I'm driving right now.
Yes. Don't drive and talk.
That's a Superwoman.
Yeah, that's a Superwoman. So, Dr. Aruna, a very warm welcome to you. And as I already just introduced, you are the director of Gynaecology and Obs at CK Birla, and we have Anika Parashar with us, who is the founder and CEO for the Women's Company. And we have Saloni, who's the CTO and co-founder for Lotus Petal Foundation. And currently, we were just discussing, the stigmas associated or the stigmas we fought to reach where we are. So would you like to shed some light on that?
So, see, I would say I'm his favorite child. I would not say that I had any difficulty other than monetary difficulty, which was really at that time a taxing thing for my father for my study. Though I studied in government medical college throughout, but even though I remember today when 500 rupees of had to be given for 6 months after 12th. It was really difficult for me to collect for my father to collect those 500 rupees for my fee. And lots of fight. We are 3 sisters, and my younger sisters used to curse me when they thought that they were seeing that he was struggling hard to procure that money and all those things. So it was really bad phase, but that was one thing which actually we overcome, and now I'm at a stage when my kids just 500 rupees is nothing. I just feel that, was it actually 500 rupees which we were crying every month and trying to collect 500 rupees from our piggy banks and everywhere to give coaching fee. So that was a troublesome phase at that point of time. Otherwise, it was all good. I think nowadays I feel really sad that reservation is going up, and it was very difficult for my daughter to now get through government medical college. But at that point of time, it was not all that difficult. The reservation and all those educational system was not in this kind of shambles, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So, Dr. Aruna, I just want you to be safe. So you can't like stop on the side and
I can
you just
do.
want for another 10 minutes.
No, I'm stopping at the side. I just thought while I'm out of that building.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great, great. Okay. So, Saloni, I want to ask you, what drives you in life?
Well, I think working on myself and improving myself every day. I think that is something which to focus, on. People think I'm very hard on others, but people who know me very closely know how hard I am on myself. So I think working on improving yourself, on your skills, on your headspace, and upgrading yourself constantly and pushing yourself, these things drive me. And going to unknown places, being between strangers, being in situations where I don't know anything, and I mean, even in the organization, when all you senior people with all the 2 decades of experiences and hitting huge numbers and working on the Excel sheets came, here I was, this freelance writer hippie again, trying to find my way. So, these situations really drive me, where I get an opportunity to improve myself and learn from people around me and from different languages, cultures, and skills. So I think that is something that really drives me. And working for at the grassroots level, I think that's my oxygen with people. When I get to work with people at the grassroots level firsthand, I think that's my oxygen.
Great. Anika, what drives you?
Just something internal. It's just something internal. It could be, I mean, and there are different things, different times. One is, one is almost a psychological kind of thing of the fact that, my parents are no more, and I'm on this quest to prove to them that, I've done something with my life. And it's crazy, because it is, if you look at it from a psychotherapy point of view, you're seeking validation from your ancestors who are no longer there, but it is, and we all do it in different ways. We seek that validation from, those guys. So one, it could be that. The second is I do care about making impact. I do. And I believe women's health is, one place where impact can be made, and a lot needs to be made. So I think that is something else. And the third, I would say, is the need to show my children that you can be passionate about something and go for something with all that you have. And that's your thing, which is beyond the roles that you play as a mother or as a, sister or as a, whatever else that you are in life. It goes beyond that. It's just your thing.
It's your thing. Dr. Aruna?
Yeah.
What drives you?
So see, if you would wonder, and even today, I wonder that my doll always was a doctor, and I always wanted to be a doctor. And I don't know why at that point of time I wanted to become a doctor. But yes, I enjoyed my journey thoroughly. And I actually lived every life of every patient I lived. And I think Saloni knows, like when I talk about my patient, about their stories, which I've written, and hopefully I would be able to publish someday. Still, when I'm repeating those stories to one, I start crying. And those are not the stories. Like I have lived those patients' pain, and they are happy now. But still, every time I narrate that story, I cry. So it is like I'm getting happiness and life through them. And I really, really thoroughly enjoy. I'm totally passionate about my work. If I was not a doctor, I don't know what I would be. When I sit in OPD in the morning, uh, every patient I meet, it is a new patient, new pain or new happiness, and it becomes family to me. I actually, I just cannot explain, and I tell my daughter that medicine, better than medicine, there could not be any better profession, because I cannot imagine myself sitting in front of computer or doing something without a human touch, or without solving somebody's problem, or and same way, when I was telling my daughter to choose a career, she was like, okay, this SAT or all those. I said, see, if you can sit in the office 9 to 5 and do all those things, that is up to you. But if you'll ask me, I would not, never, ever exchange this for anything. And if I was not a doctor, I don't know, my life would be worthless. I'm so passionate about this.
Wow. I think just being in the labor room and catching those babies itself is so rewarding.
Yeah, actually it is rewarding. I become grandma immediately.
True. So I think what I gather from the three of you is like, you definitely need support. You definitely need women friends whom you can lean on at any time. And so one of the questions that has come from someone is, Anika, who's your role model? She wants to know.
Combination of my two grandmothers and my mother, and their words, their actions, the way that they live their lives, all three of them come back to me in so many ways. And I must have picked up stuff from them, as I was growing up, because I sometimes feel like an out-of-body experience. Like I'm actually walking a certain way, or talking a certain way, or saying something that came out of one of their mouths, and oh my God, how's it with me now? So definitely them, real life, role models in my life. And otherwise, I'd say honestly, Shruti, every woman I meet, I learn something from.
Yeah.
The incredible, the capacity of women to survive and to thrive despite it all. It teaches, there's something that you learn from every single woman and every single interaction. They're just incredible. Women are incredible, so I wouldn't say there's any one woman, but I'd say pretty much every woman, and even young women like my daughter who's 13. Even her, I learn from her every single day. So I'd say pretty much every woman's a role model.
Wow. So, Dr. Aruna, I just want to know, what were the biggest mistakes you've done and what was your learning from them?
Okay.
And she's got dropped. Saloni, do you want to answer that for
I like your question, Shruti.
I know.
No. Shruti, I'm still making so many mistakes. You see me making mistakes every other day. Well, I think being able to make mistakes is a good testimony that you're doing something. And, I wrote an article once where I spoke about, how mistakes pave way for evolution. And at Lotus Petal also, we are shameless about our mistakes. We should share our mistakes so that all of us learn from it. So the list is endless. Who I am today is because of all the errors I have embraced and, learned from them and felt like, oh my God, I wish I had done it better, or I wish I can do it like this. But there are tons of them, but most important is, not learning how to manage my money from a very young age. The culture how we come from and how we are raised as girls, we are not trained how to manage our money, our bank, our accounts, make our investments or pay our taxes, or, have our own little checkbook, so these real life things, I wish I had known better while I was in my teens. And, there was always enough. God has been kind, and the way I've led my life, I didn't need a lot also. So it worked well. But, as you grow up and reality of life meets you, you realize that not understanding money is a little bit foolish. And then you learn it the hard way. And like many of us have. So I think that's one mistake that is very close to my heart. and I keep learning from it. And I'm disciplined with money, but how to manage it and organize it and compartmentalize it and make investments and think about your retirement, health, children. I think these are critical things which are not allowed to come close to women. I'm sorry. Unless you learn it the hard way or you're few of those fierce ones. So I think this is something I hold very close. But otherwise, I'm very generous about making mistakes and learning from them.
Great. I think everyone should know that.
Yeah, totally.
We have Dr. Aruna back.
Yay.
I think she's finding it difficult to join. Sorry. So, there, she's there.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Aruna, one of our guests who's, I think on Facebook, she wants to know that you're so passionate about your work. You're working all the time. And Anika, even for you, she's mentioned the same thing, that you have your NGO, you have your, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing so many things, all three of you actually. How do you find time for your hobbies? How do you take out time for yourself? So maybe we'll start with Dr. Aruna.
Okay, so see, the thing is that I would tell you one thing. Sometimes I find, as you asked first, that what is the mistake which you did, and time management is one thing which I thought that I'm not able to do it, even like from younger years. But then I go back and I see that when my children were to be dropped, I could do that. When I wanted to learn dance Kathak, I was learning with my daughter. So it was not like wholeheartedly I was actually doing or pursuing my hobbies, but somewhere I was writing, which I said that I would be able to publish in another few months. I was doing Kathak or Bharatnatyam sometimes, not regularly, but anyway. But yes, I felt that if I was not busy with my work, like the day I was not delivering patients, or the day I was not in OT doing surgeries or doing OPD for consecutive 3 or 4 days on holidays and all, I started missing that. And my friend, who's a psychologist, clinical psychologist, she used to tell that this is a disease, that you miss your work. This is a disease. You do not think that relaxation is also important. But when I do 18 hours of work, when I come home, I want to read, I want to write, I want to dance. So it is like when I am satisfied at my work, I want to pursue every hobby. But if I was not satisfied, or I did not do that surgery, or there was no delivery at those days, I felt that, okay, I'm missing something, which is actually not related to money. It was only that I wanted to meet patient. I wanted to make this thing. So I think, yes, somewhere it is not right also, because time to relax should also be devoted time. To go for hobbies also should be there. But I think that is the thing which I'm not able to find, that whether I should be enjoying more of my hobbies and relaxation time, or should be enjoying my patients and I don't know.
So I think in the interest of time, I just want to ask first from Saloni, then Anika, then Dr. Aruna. What's your advice for the young girls of today?
It's just so hard to be young right now. I think first of all, I just want to give them a pat on their back and tell them that it's really, really tough. It's so unfortunate that they're not even allowed to make mistakes like how we were allowed and not even caught. So, I think first of all, I really want to acknowledge that it's very hard to be young and in teens right now. There is too much pressure. There is too much pressure in homes. There's too much pressure on the net. There is too much pressure in their classrooms, and it's just too much. So just to calm down, just eat healthy, do an exercise, go for a swim, and you're really beautiful. Those pimples are really fantastic. They will go away. Your teeth will be all in, and you will lose all the weight. So that is the starting point. Lastly, I'd just like to tell them that keep the focus on, and the path is long and hard, and it's not linear. You'll go down, then It'll take a while to come up and you'll go down again. So just know that it's not going to happen tomorrow morning, but trust me, you'll get there. But it's focus, hard work, being organized, determined, learning about money, and knowing that it's very tough, and having your women friends around you. It's very important. Few things.
Anika?
I think for me, it's just something fairly simple. Life hits you with a lot of curveballs, and you're never prepared for anything. No matter how much you study, no matter how much you learn, no matter how much you ask, no matter how large your curiosity is, how much you read, etc. So I think my one mantra is to just be kind to myself. So be kind to yourself no matter what. Be true to yourself no matter what. Because there are a lot of balls that we juggle as women, and we can only do that if we're okay, physically, mentally, emotionally. So if we're kind to ourselves, if we love ourselves, if we're true to ourselves, then then it all works out. If we're not, and we don't show up for ourselves, we get into a whole host of emotional, physical, mental health related problems. And you can't keep all these relationships and all these balls in the air unless the juggler is safe. So keep the juggler safe.
True. Dr. Aruna?
Okay, so my one advice to younger adults would be that come out of your screens and see that there is a tiny world around you who are looking up to you, who are taking care of you, your grandmothers, your grandparents, your moms, your sisters, your brothers. And if you just look around, there is a lovely family around, which is totally supportive. So even if you had a heartache, or somebody, some friend did not respond to your Facebook, or did not like, or did not. So those are very, very minor things. And do not try to live in that vast world of liking and all social media. There is this tiny word, and it's all supportive. Whenever you be hit hard, we are always there to support you. One thing. And second thing, remember that life is not fair, and it's okay. It's okay that if somebody is moving forward because she has or he has a back, somebody is supporting them, somebody is richer than you, somebody has a parent who is supporting them. It's okay. So learn that life is not fair. If accept it, acceptance is first thing. Either move on if you're not able to deal with it, or try to change it, but do not suffer that. Do not suffer that, because it is for everyone, and we are here as a family to support you. So you don't have to actually be worried about anything.
That's really nice. I think that's really three really nice advices coming from the three of you. And thank you so much, Saloni, Anika, Dr. Aruna. Thank you so much for taking out time and being here with Lotus Petal Foundation today. Really appreciate it. And thank you everyone else who has joined in on Facebook, YouTube. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.